Welcome back. Welcome back. It's another unrecoverable, another important lesson. I just want to keep it simple for you guys because I'm giving you what I would want someone to give me right now. I want to talk about staying firm, waiting, and then winning. Because right now I'm going through a rough patch. I have a lot of followers, but I don't have the monetization hours watched. So, not enough hours watched equals no monetization, but you still got to make content. You still got to stay consistent. This is the halfway point. And this is what this message today is about. Not giving up at the halfway point just because you're not getting what you want out of it right now. Now, I have another let's just say I have other other projects in motion, um, and I feel confident because 9 times out of 10 I didn't expect to get this far. No one does. 9 times out of 10 no one expects to get past a certain amount of subscribers or followers on TikTok, whatever it is. And I got further than I thought I would in a month and a half. So we're gonna keep going. Obviously, that's a big motivation. I want to thank you for subscribing. I want to thank you guys for watching my videos, and let's just keep it going. So stand firm, wait, and win. So in every challenge, physical, mental, or emotional, the halfway point is where most people surrender. Not because they lack ability, but because they underestimate how close they are to the breakthrough. Holding your ground through that midpoint determines whether the obstacle becomes the dead end or the doorway. The moment you feel like stopping is usually the moment you're close to rising. And that's so true because I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in other people, but in myself, again, God comes first, but I'll give you my example. For example, I always think, and it's for me, it's when I come to building my shape back, because there's always months that you like give up, but then you visit someone, you see someone, or someone at work tells you, "Oh, you look good. You're looking in shape. I wish I had the shape you had." And right again, that motivates you to come back to the gym, keep working out. Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with TikTok. At first, no one thinks, "Oh, I can't get this far," and you know, now that I've gotten this far, now my other projects, you know, they look a bit distant, but now I have the mindset that I'm going to prosper. Now I have the mindset that I'm going to go through with what I'm doing. And that's really important. That's why it's good to like have, here and there a couple things for yourself, not just work 8 or 12 hours, not just do 60-hour work, for your job, pay bills. It's good to have other things because not just will that motivate you to be like in good shape and good attitude, but it'll help you in your regular work, in your everyday 9 to 5, if you have a 9 to 5 or you're an entrepreneur. Anything that motivates you, it will translate to your regular life. You're underestimating your small talents, and if you have big talents, still you got to break through, man. So the first step, or the first, let's say, tough point would be the illusion of the halfway point. Obviously, that's what this whole theme is about: standing firm, waiting, and winning. Now, a couple points. The first point: how the midpoint feels harder than it truly is. So that's always because we haven't, gone through something tough before. Let's just say it that way, or as tough as what we're going through now. The main reason why it feels like it's hard, it's because we're not being grateful for the small things we have. We're not we're not taking in advantage the small success that we have now, the small victories. That's why it's harder, because we're not appreciating. And subconsciously, if we were more appreciative of what we have, then in consequence, we would worry less even if things go wrong. Like today, I was trying to promote one of my posts on Instagram, and Apple took the money, but Instagram never boosted it. So I was upset, but usually I would stay upset for the rest of the day and it would ruin my whole day, but I have other things to do, you know. Those other ambitions pulled me out of that mentality of, like, you know, let's just say stress, because there was a bit of stress going on there. Now I've been doing extra hours, so you know, what's a couple bucks gonna do to me, to my pocket? You know, let's always think that we're in this to try. It's a trial and fail type of route. You know, you got to try a couple things. You're gonna lose, and you don't always get back for, you know, what you put in. You gotta stick it. Point number 2: the psychology in regards to fatigue, doubt, and temptation to quit. Now, the psychology basically is being unexpected. Let's just say being over delusional. Yeah, being over delusional about what we can and cannot achieve. Later on, you're going to be able to achieve millions, have a mansion, and do whatever. But at first, you got to be in your right mind. That way, the tough parts going through isn't what's going to stop you from getting to where you want to get. And I learned that the hard way. And that's the only way I was able to quit smoking weed, because I had the stumbling part of my life for like 5 years. Then I quit for 1 year. Then I realized it wasn't hard to quit, but it was hard to stop a bad habit. That's what it was. So then I just toughened myself against the habit. I was smoking less, until one day I decided to change my life completely and seek better ambitions, because that was part of it. Like, I was seeking one life when I deserved another, but I was telling myself I didn't deserve either one. So if I knew that I didn't deserve the bad life, then I had to just choose the good one. And then the third point on the illusion of halfway points: why challenges intensify before we give up. And this is due, in my opinion, to fatigue, but also wanting everything right away. That's one of the other reasons why the halfway point seems so hard, and why we always give up at the halfway point. Because that comes with gratitude, and that also comes with being delusional. You know, wanting things right away, right now. Like, I need everything right now. I don't have it, then that's not what I want. There's a thing that I came across, an investigation, or I guess you can say a research, whatever. It's the white and black mentality, not race. Literally, all or nothing is what that means. The white and black mentality, like the checkered board mentality. You know, that's why they say it's a chess game, not a checkers game. Because in a chess game, no matter what color the pieces are, they move on white or black, you know? We have to think outside the box. We can't just want everything one scoop. And then the fourth and final for the illusion of the halfway point: the halfway point as a mental barrier rather than a physical one. And I said this at first, but this controls our physical state as well, which is our mind. Our subconscious controls our physical state. And why is it a mental barrier? Because of ungrateful attitude and not considering the small victories. So we got to consider those small victories. Let's just step away from not being grateful. Because sometimes, I've seen it. Sometimes we are grateful, but we don't notice it. We don't acknowledge it. I see it in people at work all the time. People have good attitudes, but when they leave work, they think that they've done shit, so then they continue in that shitty lifestyle, but they don't see that they're actually good people. It used to happen to me. I don't know what that's called. I don't know what diagnosis that's called, but I had to value myself, and that was part of getting back my reputation. And then as soon as I was valuing myself, I was valuing others as well without even knowing it. And that's part of gratitude. Considering yourself. Is that simple. Because there's a stigma or there's a facade where people say, oh, you're ungrateful. You got to think about others first. But sometimes certain people don't function like that because they've been through traumatic events that taught them that other people aren't in their favor all the time, and that's why they think about themselves first. Let's not get too complicated. That doesn't mean that they're a bad person. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. And that's what mainly stops us at the halfway point in completing our goals is the confusion of not knowing if we're good or bad. And usually we're all good, it's just that we're in a tough situation. I've learned that from experience. So that's the beginner's part. That's like starting something and then finishing but not completing everything. You know what I mean? That's like going halfway but then stopping. Because it's really just confusion. It's nothing complicated. And then the second part on staying firm, waiting and winning. The strength found in stillness and persistence. Now, after we've gone through the struggle, and imagine those drug dealers, imagine those singers that, or whoever lives in that lifestyle, prostitute, whatever, and they keep going with the stubbornness, and they keep going. I'm not saying after you get there to keep doing that, but that's what got them there, right? I'm not trying to confuse you, but persistency might seem crazy at first when you're going through the struggle, but it will pay off because going through that, yeah, you're going to feel like everyone's against you and you're going to probably have a small grudge or you're going to be felt some type of way, but I guarantee you that going through that struggle will change your mentality and you will end up wanting to help others because you'll see the difference between who you were and who you are now. You will definitely see a different perspective and you'll want to help others because if not, that person will, or whoever you're up against, will always get in your way because they want what you have and you don't want to share it, which rubs them the wrong way, which is right. You always have to help. But just to give you a different perspective, it's not just about who wins and who loses. It's more about that obstacle. Even after, because another obstacle could be even after you completely get there and you win or whatever, you get over the halfway point, you make it, you can still fall down and lose everything. You have to keep a consistency, and that comes with helping others, because by helping others, you're helping yourself, and that creates abundance. So the strength found in stillness and persistence, besides helping others, is understanding holding your ground. Holding your ground isn't stagnation, it's a strategy, which is where persistence is like the light. It's like the light shining on failure. It's like the light guiding you through confusion, through the delusions, because everyone had to be persistent at a certain point, which means even the guy you admire or even the guy that's better than you and he's at the top, he had to go through a struggle. So that humbles not just you, but that humbles him as well, even if you don't want to admit it. And then keeping your composure when progress seems invisible. Now, that's obvious to everything I've just said because basically, when you make it at a small goal, if you have gratitude in front of you, then keeping still and holding your composure, even if you're not getting something back, you kind of are. You just don't see it. So it's not a literal invisibility. It's more like a tangible invisibility, but it's there. Like, for example, putting in to get subscribers and working hard, but not getting paid for it, but you still have subscribers. So it's all about gratitude. So developing resilience through an unendurable discomfort is what that should have said. But it's not all unendurable. Because again, with gratitude and maturity, you will learn, like one of those videos where Bruce Lee was talking about how you have to become water and you have to not be afraid to accept failure, which also works with trying to get girls and trying to become more attractive. It works with trying to make money. That's what I'm talking about today, trying to make money, trying to cross that midpoint of whatever you want to do and actually achieve it. Because let's not kid ourselves, we're not just gonna use our brain to get us through. You can't just, it has to be tangible as well. You can't just imagine yourself to old age and be grateful for nothing. That's something I will agree with you on. It has to be tangible. But like I said, you have to not be afraid to avoid discomfort or to completely embrace discomfort and it doesn't unmotivate you. You have to know yourself and you have to be grateful for who you are. Because some people walk around and they're just not that they're not grateful and they're not good people. Again, that's a misconception. More like it's a confusion or it's an unconfirmed fact within them. So that's another reason why I'm making this video, because you're a good person. Even you sitting down dealing drugs, smoking weed, or even you being a prostitute, whatever. I've been through that life as well. You're a good person. You're just doubting yourself. Don't help others doubt you and don't doubt yourself right along with them. And then the fourth point of keeping still and being persistent, the power of consistency overbursts the effort. So let me try to explain that better. Again, ChatGPT with the points. Consistency, and that's gonna seem like, because it happens to me all the time. Like, didn't I do this already? Like, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But that's why you got to change it up. You got to change the title. You got to change, if you're a skateboarder, how you came towards the rail. If you're a painter, you're using this light, even though you're using the same strategy, the same paints in the same way. You got to use a different lighting. That way it affects the way you throw your brush. That type of thing, It will seem like a deja vu. But sometimes that can work in your favor because it lets you know that you've achieved a certain level of your art form. And that is what kills fatigue, because that's literally what gratitude is. The consistency and paying attention to detail combined, that's what being grateful is. You just haven't said, thank you, God, or you just haven't said, oh, okay, I'm good. You just haven't acknowledged it. It doesn't mean you're not grateful, you just haven't brought it into existence. That's a simple difference between keeping consistent and knowing that you did something, because I've seen a lot of people like achieve a certain goal and then they're just like, oh, whatever, okay, I'm good. Like, come on, you're not gonna get nowhere with that attitude. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying you're not grateful, I'm just saying acknowledging it will smoothen things out. And then crossing the midpoint where transformation begins. Okay, so after that, after being grateful, after, breaking through that tough midpoint, that confusion, the first point is how breakthroughs often, right after resilience, peak. Why do they peak? That's like dysphoria, or that's like an ecstasy. That's like a dopamine hit. That is what we should all look for. Nirvana, whatever you want to say. I don't know. That's what we should all look for. And people that are projecting their narcissistic, ideas of themselves on you, don't just say, oh, that's just projection. Show them that you're grateful for where you're at, and I guarantee that they won't even question you anymore. Because I've been the person to be like fighting fire with fire. Yeah, sometimes that's what helps you, but not all the time. Not all the time. Now, fatigue, just be careful, because fatigue, it can cause confusion. Now, that sometimes we just, as human beings, we disagree, and there's no avoiding that. That's just a human aspect. So we should all seek, that dopamine hit after a workout. Oh, nice. Not talking about smoking weed. Definitely not. I mean, looking yourself in the mirror, socializing with your buddy, talking about how much you lifted. If you're a skateboarder, same thing, talking about the moves, how the struggle was. That's what being grateful is. That's what achieving something and breaking through and showing resilience. That's how you show resilience, talking about the achievement. And then the second point on crossing the midpoint, reframing the halfway point as the turning point. So that's really important, because it goes with what I just said about some people achieving a goal and just dishing it off like it's nothing, which it is. Now that means you're actually discarding yourself. That means you're neglecting all the effort you put into where you came and where you got. So making it as a turning point, meaning you're not going on the same path and you're not treating the next goals as nothing. You're not acting like a rich, spoiled brat, like, oh, okay, I got this. Okay, now what I want something else. No. Achieve it, embrace it, celebrate it. Make it for yourself a foundation where you have proof. Make evidence of it. Record that moment. I don't know. Do something that there's a milestone in your life to where it causes disturbance, a habit interruption. And then building momentum by pushing one step beyond quitting. So that's it. Just do it, like the slogan says. Pushing. Ignoring the fact that you've done this a million times and it feels like you're being a robot or like you're stuck in a loop. Just push. And then using the midpoint as proof that you can finish what you said. So again, ChatGPT agrees with what I say. Again, consistency, gratefulness, showing evidence, record it, talk to someone about it, make it present in your life, because that's what triggers your amygdala, your subconscious. That's what triggers that dopamine, that ecstasy hit, which lets you know. And that's how I've been avoiding smoking weed, because I'm sticking other things in my life. Like I'm working out more. I'm doing more on social media. I'm trying to find different ways to make money. I don't literally have time to do it. And then I started making music. It's like I'm it's like I'm strapping myself down without even knowing it. So that's, you can say it now. You can say, just lock in what y'all say. And then a closing statement by the philosopher Aristotle. He once said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." So failure as well is not just an act, but it's a habit. It works both ways. And to break habits, excellence or failure, all it takes is replacing it with another habit. Drugs can interrupt success, and success can interrupt drugs, or whatever other habit you want to break. Cursing, insulting people, I don't know. But the important key point is being grateful, acknowledging that you're good, and then still carrying through, knowing it's going to be tough. Someone's always going to be there to say, "Oh, you're this and you're that." But that's when you say not everyone's always right about their opinion. Not everyone's always right about what they say about me. So that's why I wanted to make this video, because even I needed this video. I hope you guys haven't given up on your goals and haven't given up on what you plan to do, just like me not giving up, because everyone's trajectory, everyone's midpoint is at a different level in their life. Some people's is way early, some people's is way late, but no one's late. No one is wasting their time. Everyone had to go through something to get to where they're at. Everyone's special for that reason. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I invite you to subscribe, like, comment, and yeah, keep supporting me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. You have a good day.